log represents Oregon. I think they couldn't have picked a better symbol.
All of a sudden, this guy came out of the rafters with a chainsaw, ran out on the field and cut a slice of wood. Being from a logging town, I just got that connection right away.
A token to the history of the club. It's a thank you to the fans for their support.
It's something that makes the relationship between our team and the city special.
We're way beyond t-shirt guns and halftime giveaways. Uniqueness is what really makes this sport and this community amazing. The victory log's been around since the birth, basically, of the Timbers.
Portland dearly loves its soccer team, and they turn out.
And it goes back to the days where, Timber Jim called the GM and said, "Hey, I got an idea, a crazy idea, but one that I think that could be truly special."
We felt like it was kind of dead. The crowd wasn't really supporting the team. One day I called up the general manager and I said, I want to bring a chainsaw in the game, and I'll take the chain off, make it safe. Oh, yeah, who is this? He called me into his office and he says, we want to do something where we're sawing slabs off of the log. I said, so what do you want me to do? He said, just saw slabs off of logs whenever they score. I figured if it's going to do this, I'm going to do it all the way. So I'd do some backflips, handsprings, and I climbed the 110-foot light poles. I had a chainsaw on a short lanyard, so I fired that thing up. Game changer.
2008, when Jim announced his retirement, I knew it was something I really wanted to be a part of. Every time one of the players scores, I go out there and cut a slice off of it, parade it around the stadium, and then at the end of the game, give it to the player who scored as a trophy for his goal. If the keeper gets a shutout, we'll get one for him as well.
To have a slab is nice because I've scored in other places and it's not the same. To have a little piece of my history was something very special to me and will always be special to me.
The shot is on! It's delivered!
I was at a game, we were playing Minnesota's 2004. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, you got to go home. We were winning. I didn't want to leave. I cut another slab and then they come up and said, you got to go home, dude. We lost our child. She was in a car. She was wearing her seatbelt. It's a violent collision. But Hannah's the only one that died. The Timbers Army wrapped me and my wife up big time.
The victory log tradition is something that we've all crafted together as a group, and it's stood the test of time after many generations of the Timbers being a club.
This tree comes from our sponsors out of an area called Spirit Mountain. Timber Jim and I go up, we actually look at the tree while it's still standing. Hopefully it's a coal log, which is a log that can't be used at the mill anyways. So they take it down for us. We bring it to a log blessing at Camp 18, a logging museum. Hundreds of fans come around, we bless the log.
May your house be strong of beam, firm of wall and rafter, built with timbers from a dream, girded well with laughter. May it have a winding stair with a lover's landing, windows to let in the air, the light of understanding.
May your home have a roof of faith for every change of weather, and love upon your hearth to warm your years forever. Go Timbers!
It just became this commonplace thing for us to all put our hands on the log. We fill it with good energy and that it will transform into goals, and each goal will be sliced off.
The victory log is a symbol. There's potential in that log. So that's what the Army's waiting for that magic moment.
There's the spark they've been looking for!
The log slab is a token to remember that goal by, but it's also an opportunity for you to thank the supporters for what they do.
The connection between club, players, Timbers Army is sacrosanct.
That's what it is. It's a connection with the fans.
Traditions happen over time. The more the years pass, the more it makes me think, how many more individuals will come in here and contribute something unique as well? How much joy will they get from it? And how can we help them to achieve that much joy?
bar none, the greatest soccer rivalry in North America.
Fights, fouls, all the chirping, all the goals.
The intensity, the environment.
Sandwiches thrown under our bus as we're driving up the stadium, the finger gesture, you know, all that sort of stuff.
It's bragging rights, it's rights between which is the best city.
Who are going to be your players that step up for those games?
I hate losing to Portland, and that's just the reality of things.
Just beat Seattle, and that's the only beat them.
I would say in the history of Seattle, it's kind of counterculture. The city has gone through enormous changes from when I grew up here, but we always felt like we had something to prove.
It's considered very laid back, very polite, but soccer can bring out the passion in you.
Portland obviously is not a big city. It almost feels like a town sometimes.
A community where everybody is connected.
There's a sense that because of the idea of keeping Portland weird, that maybe there's some counterculture element to it. But I also think that this is a town that's very passionate about its sports, and there's not a lot of professional sports here. So you have a lot of fans of the Timbers.
We have the Timbers Army, and I think everything in the country fails by comparison.
The fans, just as much as the players, hate losing to Portland.
We hate them, they hate us, and we like it that way.
It's a battle in the field, and there's a battle in the stands and in the stadiums.
We're at a state in the league where there's a lot of rivalries brewing, but the Timbers Sounders has one thing that nothing else has. It's history.
Oh, the Sounders playing it, making it, playing the game to win.
It started in the 70s.
The Timbers faced the Sounders here in Portland back in 1975 in the quarterfinals of the NASL playoffs.
30,000 plus here at Multnomah Stadium tonight to see the Sounders play the Portland Timbers.
Tony Betts scored on the header in extra time to send the Timbers on.
Gets it across in front, there's the shot!
It's not one of those rivalries you see with LAFC or LA Galaxy where this is a 2-year-old rivalry.
As I was a kid, we'd go to the games, we're like, yeah, we gotta beat Portland, we gotta be the best in the Northwest, and it was the same thing with Vancouver up north.
We're 3 different cities, 2 different countries that have similarities, but we definitely have a pretty deep rivalry.
The Cascadia Cup, which is owned by the fans and supporters, is the trophy we fight for when we play between Portland, Vancouver, and Seattle.
You know, sometimes people forget about Vancouver, but they're a proud franchise. They've had good teams throughout the years.
I'm gonna say that Vancouver is the king of Cascadia, if we're going by Cascadia Cups. Vancouver's definitely leading that.
There's other rivalries that have trophies throughout the league, I get it, but we bring the Cascadia Cup up here.
There's just a fierce rivalry up and down the I-5 corridor.
Start to look at the personalities involved as far as who are the villains and who are the heroes. That gives the rivalry even more intensity.
I just don't like Clint Dempsey.
Dempsey has been given a red card as well, has he?
Chara, always competing and fighting and getting little kicks in.
Ozzy Alonso was more a villain for me.
Will Johnson, just the way he played, it seemed dirty.
Roger Levesque.
Roger Levesque's gotta be Roger Levesque.
Yeah, Roger Levesque.
Going back to the goals he scored here, but particularly that 2009 US Open Cup game where he scores 48 seconds in.
He made a great run into the near post, beat the goalkeeper, and Nate Jaquith comes and he chops him down in Timber Stadium.
One of my fondest moments.
It's the most iconic image for Seattle Sounders fans, and it was on their pitch. So that's what made it even sweeter.
The Roger Levesque celebration, I think that's something I won't speak about.
But after that, interestingly, it's not players. Caleb Porter, the coach that whines constantly with the most punchable face in the history of the MLS.
I think it really annoyed us that he's the coach that got him the MLS Cup.
I think there was a lot of jealousy from Sounders fans that it was like, in some ways, for all that we've done, they have the one thing that we've always wanted.
It's a good stat to have won a championship before them.
And Diego Valeri is handed extended a gift.
I wanted them to fail big time.
Still the only club in Cascadia to win MLS Cup where we actually scored a goal during the run of play. Had a shot on goal even.
It's a first for the Timbers, a first for the Pacific Northwest. The Portland Timbers win MLS Cup 2015.
It's sad that it's going to be so many years before they'll realize that again.
Obviously, we won the MLS Cup first, so that's something that we will always hang our hat on, and we were surprised when Seattle followed.
When the Timbers won the year before, they had something they could hold over us.
It gave us motivation. I didn't want to be sidelined hoping for the opponent to prevent our rivals from lifting a trophy.
Now the cross out to Nor! What a save by Fry!
The footwork, the save, the moment, everything.
I think they showed the save behind me on the big screen, and the whole stadium did a little ugh. So I figured I did something right.
Against Stephen Fry. Off the bar! And Seattle now a kick away from winning it. Seattle Sounders have done it. MLS Cup winners in 2016.
Was I rooting for them versus Toronto in 2016? No, I wasn't. But it was a tough game to watch, to be honest.
We don't want them to succeed in what they're doing. They are not supposed to win.
It felt great to take it away from them, and obviously for us to lift their first one.
For us now, it's time to try and win another one and hold that over them.
Clint said it best in the trophy celebration.
All I gotta say is now that we won one, Portland can't say shit.
My favorite moments probably are the ones that we eliminated them in playoff.
A win for your team is always going to be a really special thing. A win against the team that you absolutely hate, it's just like 1,000 times better.
2018 playoff series with Seattle, it's something that I'd be surprised if they answered this question.
Yeah, 2018 playoffs.
Blanco! He's done it! Sebastian Blanco for Portland!
The second leg of the 2018 series might be the best playoff game I've seen in Major League Soccer since 2011.
It is not by accident that this team had Roger Levesque lead the players out.
Every Timbers win against Seattle is a favorite memory, but for me it was probably the Blanco goal.
It was special. I can feel the silence in all stadium.
It just was unrelenting.
We deserve to win, but Portland is a very sneaky team.
Some of the Portland players think they've won. They're celebrating right now.
Look at Valentine telling Blanco, no. We go to a shootout.
When you eliminate your rival in his house, it's priceless.
I was a little sore after that game.
It could not be a more perfect night here in the Pacific Northwest.
There's always the next game against Seattle.
He's going to shoot it off the bar. Fernandez scores on the rebound. You can see a Kimke, he knocked it away. Valerian Blanco both wide open. Torres being held back.
Oh, here we go.
As nasty and ill-tempered as you would have hoped.
I'm not sure if you can overhype this rivalry. The passion you see from the fans on both sides is incredible.
You see the fight that the players give in every single game, but like it feels like when they play Seattle, they're warriors.
You think that normal games are loud and rowdy, it's a whole nother level.
When people talk about MLS, Seattle-Portland rivalry is always mentioned.
It's gone through some transformations, but the root of it is, it's still city against city, club against club. That will always be there.
To me, the rivalry is most fun when both teams are really good and you're competing in the playoffs, and hopefully that's a level we can sustain and have many more great playoff games in Seattle and where we continue to beat them.
You enjoy the highs and you hate the lows, and hopefully we have more highs than lows.
I think the next game against Seattle is always going to be the biggest.
We were all just kind of like in awe of that moment.
I just remember just being like, do I believe what I'm seeing?
Just absolute shock and awe.
What a ridiculous night. What a ridiculous night.
An incredible atmosphere at Providence Park. The knockout round match between the Portland Timbers and Sporting Kansas City. Someone's season ends tonight. It's Wallace in the box, and he has done it! The Timbers break through! Tim Melia wobbled a little bit. He's not going to be able to continue in this match. Second cross in, and it's the equalizer! Kevin Ellis stuns the crowd at Providence Park. Namath at the byline. Christian Namath has given KC the lead. Asprilla. John Mooney! He scored! The Timbers have equalized! With 3 minutes to go! Maxi Arudi has breathed life back into Providence Park and has sent the Timbers to penalty kicks.
I don't know that people remember that Maxi Arrudi's goal is the latest goal in MLS history, 118th minute. The Timbers were 2 minutes away from their season ending in extra time, and then boom.
Having Portland tied up so late, that can be kind of a crushing moment to a team. But we have a history of penalty kicks in Kansas City, and we've come out on top. So we were feeling pretty good going into that penalty shootout.
When you snag a late goal to take it to penalties, there's this sense of, all right, this is meant to be. I'd have probably realized the drama that was gonna ensue.
I grew up in the Northwest. I'm used to sports teams disappointing me, so I was not confident at all going into penalty kicks.
We got together and Caleb Porter, our coach at the time, handed out the list and said, hey, these are the first 5 guys shooting. And he read off the names, and Reggie and I were kind of looking at each other like, you sure you got this right, man?
You make subs in games, so sometimes maybe some of those guys aren't available. But John actually had a very good sense for penalty kick shootouts.
Kempen had a sheet that supposedly had where guys go, but there's probably not much on Liam Ridgewell and Nat Borchers and where they've gone in their history.
There's a lot of different statistics that have been done around penalty kicks, but there's some things that are secret sauce that we keep to ourselves.
Diego Valeri will take first for the Timbers.
Valeri is like our captain. Here's our talisman.
Valeri is saved by Kempen!
It was the first one, and I missed it. So I was thinking about my mistake.
Missing our first penalty, I was thinking it's gonna be a tough one.
Now Benny Feilhaber, 5 for 5 in the regular season. He finishes and gives KC a 1-0 lead.
You have to be confident when you take a PK. It's hard though, it's nerves. You get up there and the distance between the penalty spot and the goal looks a heck of a lot farther than 12 yards.
When Nat stepped up, he was so decisive. There wasn't any sort of question. He's like, I'm gonna bury this. I'm gonna just stick into the corner. And then we did that salute. I think it just brought a lot of the energy back. It wasn't just that he scored, it was the way he scored it that mattered.
The Timbers Army is no fan of Dom Dwyer.
Saved by Kawarse!
So it was nice to have him get stuffed.
Liam Ridgewell for the Timbers, who slots home Cooley. Graham Susi back on level terms. Now the team's first ever captain, Jack Dewsbury.
He wasn't a regular starter, but he was still like Captain Jack, that's what we called him.
Dewsbury sends it into the Timbers Army.
To miss, especially being the 4th guy with only a couple shooters to go, it runs through your mind, the season's over because of you.
Matt Beasler. And he sends it over!
penalty kick shootouts, momentum shifts really quick.
Aruni scores! Paulo Nagamura. Jorge Villafana saved by Kempin. And now Kansas City can win it.
I feel like there was multiple times in that shootout we were going to win. It just felt like we were so close.
Kevin Ellis. And it's off the post! We go on! And now the pressure on KC. Sony Mustavar. One more round. Darlington Nagbe. Pressure back on Kansas. Jacob Peterson. We're going to a 9th round.
Anytime you're in sudden death, you miss a penalty kick, you think it's over.
Elvis Powell. Saved by Kempin.
This wasn't the first time they had an opportunity to win it. And so when they came up the second time, it was almost like, all right, we had our one chance. We got out of that one unscathed. But to do it twice is, probably not realistic.
Saad Abdul Salam, a rookie. Another chance for KC to win it.
We had been planning to not talk when the game ends, to let the pictures do the talking. And I'm thinking, all right, this is their second chance to end it. They're gonna end it.
I see Adam diving the wrong way, and I see the ball going, into that corner, and I just thought, all right, that's it. That's going to be it.
When Saad stepped up, I knew exactly where he was going. I think everyone on our team did. Once it hit that post and was going across, I want to say I celebrated, hands up in the air, and then
comes off the inside, really quick in mind, oh, it's going in.
Then ricochets again, and for a split second, I thought it was going to hit Adam and go in.
Just absolute shock and awe. Seemed to just defy physics.
And it came off both posts and came out. Are you kidding? Unbelievable.
The science behind it, when you think of a right footer that's bending it to the left corner, it hits the left post, must be spinning a certain direction. And so when it ran across the line and didn't go in, we all just looked at each other in disbelief.
I just being stunned, unable to move. I was do I believe what I'm seeing? That's the slowest time's ever moved.
You have to think at that moment in time that it's your night. I kind of get goosebumps talking about it, but it's just you knew that we caught lightning in a bottle at that moment.
Unreal. I mean, the margins, if it's an inch either way, the game's probably over.
I thought, no way.
And then there's this jubilation amongst the crowd and the team that we're still in this.
When you miss those, and you start to think maybe that's going to come back to haunt us.
George Foshive for the Timbers. The 10th and final field player. Cool from the rookie. And now it's the 11th round. Goalkeeper versus goalkeeper. This is remarkable drama.
It almost felt like there was something in the air, for sure. Didn't know what it was, but we still had to finish it off.
Adam Kawarase versus John Kempin. The Timbers are going to the Western Conference semifinals. I don't know if there's a more memorable match in the Timbers MLS history than what we just saw tonight.
It's tough to look back. Really had two chances to win it. Any sort of luck that would have happened. But the game of soccer is cruel sometimes.
I've seen a lot of things happen before, but that was like a dagger into the heart because it was right there. And that was a difference at the end. That was the one that ultimately killed us.
I mean, you couldn't have hit it any closer without it being a goal. For a rookie to be in that spot, you feel for him.
I've been on the good side and the bad side of penalty shootouts. Doesn't make it any better. It still felt terrible, but that's just the way it goes.
We are, of course, disappointed, but We gave everything that night. It was an unlucky situation.
The weird thing I think about, it doesn't make any sense, but I almost feel like it's quantum physics or something, like the willpower of the Timbers Army. Move some molecules of air and push that ball off the post, you know? I can't explain it. Something happened, like the soccer gods were like, oh, you know what? Actually, flip the coin, we're gonna go to Portland.
When we were done and we were celebrating our championship, I think we went back and we were all just kind of like in awe of that moment and what the heck happened. It was pure ecstasy. We all just took off. That spurred us on to bigger things for the rest of that playoff run.
The best part for me was seeing our fans stick with us through thick and thin. To go through the hard times and come out on top the way we did in 2015 definitely meant a lot for me in my career. That's a pretty emotional thing for a lot of folks.
That atmosphere, that night, still to me is the best that I've seen in my career covering sports. There are so many little plot lines in that match that make this one of the best games in MLS history. What a ridiculous night. What a ridiculous night.
Want to see some more of this? Check out these goals over here. Hit subscribe to get all of our videos.